He spoke of witnessing the beatings his parents received at the hands of ruthless gangsters. He remembered seeing the desperation and shame in their eyes, and of knowing, even as a child, that what they needed was help, support, and understanding, not prison and judgment. Adam wrote of how he watched the arms race of the war on drugs unfold, how it got more and more violent, more and more difficult. He wrote of how this war wasn't going to be won with force, arrest, prison and isolation. He wrote of having to watch his own mother being forced to drink petrol over a £20 drug debt. Once again, that question, how has it come to this? In the face of Adam's letter, and hundreds more like it, I decided I would finally try to answer that question. We didn't get here by accident. The situation Adam, myself, and thousands of others caught up in the war on drugs have found ourselves in is the result of very specific decisions taken over decades. These decisions need to be looked at. The British war on drugs is almost 60 years old. To explain how it functions, you need to look back into its roots. This is a story that has never been told, until now. On Good Cop, Bad War, I worked closely with the writer J S Rafaeli. Through that process, we had begun to ask questions about the wider meaning of the personal story we were telling. How did the war on drugs develop? What impact has it had on British policing and law enforcement? What can this tell us about the relationship between the individual and the state? On a personal level, considering these questions turned out to be invaluable in helping me begin to understand and process the PTSD from which I had suffered since leaving the police. So, we decided to take on this new project together by combining my inside perspective of the police with JS's skills as a historian and journalist. We could confidently approach this hugely complex story. This book is a completely equal, joint effort between us, and has been an incredibly challenging but rewarding process for us both. The first thing we decided was that we needed to talk about people. All too often, when discussing drug policy, the conversation gets caught up in statistics and vague political ideas. It's academics arguing with politicians, arguing with cops, and everyone loses sight of the fact that behind the numbers lie real people with real stories. We wanted these voices to be heard. We wanted them brought back into the conversation. So we spent months going up and down the country, interviewing drug dealers, cops, addicts, health workers, activists, and politicians, getting to the truth of what the British war on drugs has meant to the people who actually fought it. We met some extraordinary people. We cannot thank each and every one of them enough for their courage and generosity in sharing their experiences with us. By necessity, we have had to edit these interviews for flow and brevity, but this is absolutely their story. Each chapter of this book, from the 1960s to the present day, covers themes that have been written about in depth by specialists and academics. We are building on their efforts and could not have begun to put this story together without the work they have done. However, this discussion too often happens only in academic circles. This book is meant for everyone, because this is a history that everyone should know. The war on drugs happens on the street. It's time to take its story out there too. The most successful drug cartel in history was not run by a Colombian cocaine baron, a Mexican trafficking gang, or an Afghan warlord. It was run by the British state. Throughout the 19th century, the East India Company, backed by British military power, ran simultaneous monopolies on opium in China and hashish in India. In his wildest dreams, Pablo Escobar never got anywhere close. In 1996,